Om Vang me manasi pratishthitam mano me vachi pratishthitam aviravirma edi vedasyama anistha shrutam me ma prahasihi anena dhitena Horatran sandadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram avatu vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti, Shanti. All right. We have Monique, some new person, or it is just the old person with a new name on it. If you, Monique, who are you? Could you just say a few words about yourself or something, or show yourself?
Hi, I'm Monica. I sent you a mail.
Oh, Monica. Okay, somehow Monique is written. I thought this straight. Monica, yes, very nice. Yes, you sent me the email. Right. You're from the ashram, yes?
Yeah, yes.
From Sri Aurobindo Ashram School. So lovely. Great. Okay. So here we are. Well, let me check with the, maybe I will send the invitation to everyone because I didn't. How was your 15th of Sri Aurobindo's birthday? Was good? Did you celebrate?
Yes, very, very fun. Thank you. I hope the observances at La Grasse went very well. I'm sure they did.
Yes, we had the kind of 20 plus people, and it was quite nice. And soon we will have more people joining us, yes, on regular basis, so we will be a bigger community. It would be lovely if all of you come here and live here around, and we will do things. But great. So here we are. We stopped at I think this was the number 7 was the last one. We read it through. And then there is something interesting here which I want to mention. So let us look into this again. Tam ghaim, tam ghem itra namasvinach upasvarajam asate hotrabhich agni manushach sam indhate titirvansach atisridhach. It is it is, whom as the self-ruler man who have attained submission adore. Namasvinach, who attained submission, upasate, adore. By the greatness of the oblation men light entirely Agni, hotrabhich, by the greatness of the oblation, sam indhate, man light entirely, some entirely indhate, kindle, light agnim, manushach, man, when have broken through their opposes, titirvansach, having broken literally, atisridach, over the obstacles or opposes. Sridh can be opposing something, obstacle, or opposer. either. It's in him, it's him indeed, the self-shining ruler, that the self-giving people worship, with all the office of invocation, aspiration, and offering. This is Hotrabih, these three words, office of invocation, aspiration, and offering. I put this interpretation into Hotra, one word. The mental beings, Manushach, perfectly kindle the flame of the divine will, Agnim Indhate, Sam Indhate, having crossed over the obstacles, Titirvansach, Atisredach. What is interesting with Hotra is a very complex idea, and very ritualistic, very, what do you call it? Belonging to this ancient cult of Soma Yagas. Yeah? So there are 7 Hotras in the ancient tradition, religion. So here they are all mentioned, 7 principal offices, Hotras, to assist Soma Yagas. So here they are all named as priests. They institute Yajamana. Usually Yajamana is understood as our soul, our inner being, which is actually instituting or ordering the sacrifice. It is with the will of Yajamana that the sacrifice is taking place. If there is no will of Yajamana, there will be no sacrifice. So Yajamana is usually understood as a person, man, a human being who is offering or doing himself the sacrifice. Notice Yajamana is a participle present middle voice, means sacrificing, literally sacrificing for oneself. So this is the translation of Yajamana, sacrificing for oneself, who is doing this for one's own growth of consciousness. Sometimes Adhvaryo is taking place. Adhvaryo is the priest of the Yajurveda, and Yajus from Yajurveda hymns are recited. He may replace Yajamana. Then Hotar. Hotar recites the hymns of Rigveda and makes oblation into the Garhapatya. There are 3 fires in Agnihotra. Garhapatya for Hotar, Dakshina for Adhvaryu, and Udgatar, who recites the chants, the summons from Samaveda, is doing his oblation in the Ahavaniya fire in the north. So 3 fires, 3 Vedas, 3 Hotars, 3 priests. Hota, Adhvaryu, and Udgata. Means Rigveda, Yajurveda, and Samaveda. And they, 3 priests, recite the hymns from these 3 Vedas while making oblation into the 3 fires. We spoke about this before, but there are more. There are more in Soma Yagas, not in Agnihotra. There are more offices. So, and that is Pota, who is purifying, actually preparing the material. Neshta, Neshtri, who is pouring into the fire the Soma. Brahma, who is also in the Agnihotra, who is supervising the process. He is playing the role of Prayashchittam. Prayashchittam is the correction in the mind. So whenever there is some mistake is made, either in the text or in the movement or in the timing or something, he corrects it in his mind. He's just silently staying there in the western part of Agnihotra, observes the whole process of Agnihotra, and ensures that everything goes right. And if something goes wrong, he makes a correction in his mind. So it's quite interesting. He doesn't come to the priest and tells him what to do. Yeah? He just silently corrects it in his mind. Some kind of correlative with the divine. Yeah? I was proposing long ago when I was in Auroville to have Brahman for our meetings, someone who would be sitting there and would correct everything in his mind. That it would be a difficult job, much to correct.
Vladimir,
Yes.
what about the other direction, fourth direction?
I didn't hear what you said. Say it again, please.
Said there are hotras in each of the three directions. So what about the fourth direction?
The fourth is Brahman. So we have the three directions, Hotar in the east, Udgatar in the north, Adhvaryu in the south, and in the west we have Brahman. When there is no fire there. Brahma is the priest who is observing the whole action from the Western's point of view. Judging silently the movements. Not judging, correcting. It's interesting. He's not judging. He's rectifying, making it correct. There is a difference between judgment and correction in the mind.
Can you give an example of how this happens? I mean,
Correction in the mind.
yes.
So for that, he needs to know all the text by heart. Yes. It's like you know the text by heart and you hear it, somebody reads. You would not kind of jump in and say that it is wrong. You just know where the mistake was made and rectify it in your mind.
Thank you.
And by the way, there is the whole dispute in Aitareya Brahmana about this office of Brahman, because at the end, the Dakshina, the wealth which is distributed, which is given to the Brahmins, to the priests, is distributed in such a way that half is going to Brahman alone and half to these three priests, Adhvaryu, Hotar, and Udgatar. And Aitareya Brahmana asks, why is that so? He alone was there. These three priests did everything, read everything, made all the movements, pouring into the fire, kindling the fire. They worked. And this one didn't do anything. He was standing there silently, didn't say a word. He only starts the Agnihotra with Om. He pronounces Om, and then he is silent the whole day. And then they give half-half. And then the explanation follows that he played the role of the mind, of the manas, of heaven, observing the action on earth, triple action on earth. And that earth and heaven, manas and vak, are two polarities of the sacrifice. Sacrifice is in between Vayu Pavamana. It's within the heaven and earth that the transformation is taking place. And these two poles are needed to make it work. So if there is no understanding of the meaning, what is going on here, then the sacrifice will not take place. So he holds that heavenly ground, as it were. And because of that, the sacrifice is becoming effective. So this is Brahman. And then Brahma, you see, as a priest. So masculine gender. And then later he was assigned to Atharva Veda, the fourth Veda. So 3 Vedas, also 4 Vedas, 4 priests. And Rakshas. What is interesting is that Rakshas is also including into the Hotra principle of. Rakshas is from a root Raksh, to protect, literally to scare away. And you can see these scaring faces on the temples, on the corners, everywhere in India. You can see them at the back of the lorries drawn. And they are scaring away that you should not bump into them. You know? So, yeah. So their role is to send away evil spirits. They are themselves kind of evil, but they do not allow other evil spirits to come. So they are turned outside, as it were, not inside. It's quite interesting organization of the whole magic ceremony of the sacrifice.
Even in some houses, they have the face of a
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially on the corners. They believe that through the corners there is a crack there somehow, so that the spirit can enter, because through the wall is difficult, but through the junction there must be some way. So there they are, watching carefully, not allowing anybody to come in.
Why is then Ram? My voice is echoing. I don't know why. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Is there? Do you hear echo or something? No.
Okay. I don't know. Possibly it's just for me. Now it's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was saying, why is Ravan then called a Rakshasa? And then you also said the Brahman as a masculine. Why is that? And why not feminine?
Oh my! Why not feminine? Yeah, it's difficult to answer. I don't know why. Truly speaking.
because the mind is a masculine. Is that something like that? Because
Well, they're all masculine, yeah. So in a way,
no, like the heart is more feminine. You know, the heart is feminine, intuitive. Mind is more masculine and analytical. I don't know. I'm thinking aloud here.
right. Right. I can't say. I think all of them were, yes. There was no women in among the priests, only men. I have no idea why, because there are rishikas who are women, but rishi is another matter. It's something who creates the mantra, the word. But to apply it in the rituals, women were hardly used. Yes, only in Ashvamedha the queen comes with the king sometimes. Yes, maybe in the ancient forms of the sacrifice they were kind of accompanying the husband, the yajamana. But otherwise, they were not priestess. There was no priestess, so to say.
This is very strange. Why is it that it's
All right, let's go ahead. Gnanto vritram atarat rodasi apa urukshayaya chakrire bhuvat kanve vrishad yumni ahudaha krandat ashvo gavishtishu. They smite. Gnantach, they kill literally. Vritram. They kill, smite Vritra, the coverer. Vritra, the coverer, it's the one word. It's from root vri, to cover. And there are many words from this. Vritra, Varuna also, because Varuna is all enveloping sky. Yeah. And Vritra is the one also, the coverer, but the obstructor rather. Covers and obstructs or covers and protects. So there can be different coverage, as it were. So they smite Vritra the cover and pass beyond the two firmaments, Rodasi, Atarat, Apa, Apa Atarat, cross away from Rodasi, literally. Rodasi is the term in the Veda for the two firmaments, two shining foundations, from shining, flaming even foundations, blazing. And these two foundations are heaven and earth. And I was always thinking, why earth is also shining? Yeah? Not only the heaven is shining, both are shining foundations. And there must be some explanation. I think it is because they are viewed from the highest point of view, from the supramental point of view, where heaven and earth equal and one. You know? They were like this, in this position. You know? But then when the creation took place, they changed the position. So heaven became higher, earth became lower, but on the supramental plane, they are in this position, as it were. They are absolutely identical in some way, equal and one. So to say, power and knowledge are one and the same action of consciousness. There is no delay between the power, the embodiment of the consciousness. Yeah? So they are in total harmony. So most probably that is the implication why they are called Rodasi, two shining, luminous foundations or firmaments. And that epithet got stuck, so they are always mentioned in this dual. It's a Vedic dual, Rodasi. Yeah? So two foundations, two firmaments, away from them they cross, so to the beyond, as it were. Urukshayaya Chakrire, and they make the white kingdom their home. Uru, the vastness, Chakrire, they have made Kshayaya, for the habitation. For the habitation, the vastness they have made. Bhuvat Kanve Vrishad Ahutach. May the mighty one, Vrisha, in Kanva, convey. So may Vrisha convey Bhuvat, may he be Dyumni, the luminous, a luminous energy, Ahutaha, fed with offerings, literally offered. May the luminous Lord be offered, yes, in Kanva. It's Agni in this. Vrishan, either Agni or Indra. Usually Agni is invoking Indra, and Indra is kind of descending or answering to the Agni's call. These are the equivalents of the call and the answer. In the previous one, I wanted to mention something about I forgot, so I'm coming back for a second to mention and then jump back to the previous, to the next verse. So Hotra is this, this office of the offering. And I was looking into this, remember and offer, aspiration, rejection, surrender. This is the office. This is the office of the transformation. So if we could modernize the office, because Sri Aurobindo speaks about the priests as the functions of the Agni, of the flame within us, of the divine will within us. So if we could find those equivalents in the modern language, these would be the equivalents: to remember the divine and to offer to the divine everything you are. It's a constant thing to remember who you are, remember that you are here to do yajna, the sacrifice, the transformation. We are living here for the purpose of constant transformation, ever advancing pilgrim. It's our pilgrimage. We are not here to live our egoistic life and enjoy egoistic sense of life, because it leads nowhere. It doesn't do any good to anybody, neither to us nor to others. We just don't know that because we grew up in this egoistic perception. But if we would change that perception, this would be the office. By the way, all the Indian tradition, if you look at how Brahmins live, even today, it's all within this office. Yeah? They wake up with this idea. They invoke Savitar. They in the darkness, Brahma Muhurtam, in 3 o'clock in the morning, they start oblation. They start cleansing themselves, praying, meditating, and then the life starts. And the life is always ritualized, all the life, from the morning till evening and night, ritualized totally. So they will have to, that is the way to remember, yeah, why we are here, what we are here for, and constantly offer. But it was ritualized. Yeah? And then the other beautiful office is to aspire. That means to kindle the flame within ourselves, to reject everything. Here Agni is doing, they are always calling Agni to reject the obstacles, the obstructions, to cross over the obstacles and surrender, to give oneself, to be Dashu, to be the one who gives oneself. These are constantly mentioned offices in the Rig Veda, and they are also, how to say, arranged in integral yoga. So when we look at these offices, we have to see something, some resemblance of that what is to happen. So if I look at the Hotar, who is reciting from the Rig Veda and makes oblation in the Garhapatya, I am offering everything from my householder's position. Everything, my life, my ordinary life, my physical life, my house, everything in the house, everything in this house and the vaster house, everything which belongs to me, all my belongings are offered constantly for the transformation. My family life, my relations with my family members, and so on. If I am the office of Yajamana of Adhvaryu, I am feeding the Pitris. Into the dakshina I am making oblation, or pindas, I am offering these rice, kind of pieces of rice to feed the Pitris. Pitris are those ancestors who invested into me, my lineage, so to say, my genetic lineage, which is continuing and which has to continue, which has to be maintained. Yes, and and if I take the Udgatar sermons, I sing the hymns to and make oblation to for the gods, for the development of my soul. The gods have to support my Devayana, the development of my psychic being, whereas the Pitris have to support the development of my mental, vital, and physical being, strengthen them, look after them. So all this is a very complex vision of the holistic approach to the transformation. Yeah? So I'm just giving some kind of trying to modernize these offices and speak about them in a different language. Okay, that was what I forgot to say. I was planning to say. Now I'm back to this beautiful next verse. So they kill the obstructor. The obstructor is someone who takes away the delight, the divine delight. Vritra is the deity who swallows, gobbles, drinks all the delight for himself, and he becomes full of soma, and there is no delight in manifestation. He takes away. So Vritra, the coverer, the obstructor, is within us. It's a universal obstructor, universal survivor, and it is that one whom we feel all the time. You know? The whole idea of surviving and sustaining oneself. This is all within this idea of egoistic self-assertion and development. So when ego consumes all the divine delight for himself, then there is no delight left for the divine here, for the divine action. And then the whole world, the whole mind and vital dries out. There is no joy in life. There's only satisfaction of desires. So this is Vritra, and they kill Vritra, and they cross beyond heaven and earth. Heaven and earth, our physical and mental existence, and create for themselves to live the world, create the vaster world to live for themselves. May Shining Lord, Indra most probably, or Agni, be in Kanva. Kanva Rishi, he is the author of the hymn. Grandat, may Ashva, the horse, the power, neigh, may life force neigh Gavishtishu in the pastures of knowledge. In the pastures of knowledge, in the places where knowledge is, may the power will be totally in rejoicing. I'm translating a bit differently in my interpretation. May the invoked Lord be luminous in Kanva. May the divine power rejoice in the fields of knowledge. So this return of the power to the fields of knowledge is the major idea of the Veda. You know, power has to come back into knowledge, become luminous. They are constantly, you will see them throughout. If you look carefully, they are everywhere in this duality, power and knowledge, power and knowledge. Vrishan is power, the one who conceives, the one who gives rain, and Dyumni is the one who shines. So here you see powerful and luminous. Powerful and luminous. All the time these two will go, power and knowledge, light and power. So cow and horse, these two symbols. Bull and cow and horse, rather. Bull is the power of the light. And then Samsidasva Mahan Asi Shochasva Deva Vitamach Vi Dhumam Agni Arusham Miyedhya Sraja Prashasta Darshatam. Take thy established seat, Samsidasva. Yes, Monica.
This word Kanva, is there a meaning of the name Kanva? What's the root?
You're talking, I can't hear. 1 second. I will check.
The name Kanva.
1 second. I will change my setting. Yeah, go ahead. Say.
Yes, the name Kanva, does it signify something? Because it's not the usual names like Vamadeva or all the other rishis, it is evident.
Yeah, we do not know, yes, what Kanva means. It's a very ancient name. Some names do not have direct translation. It could be from...
Mhm.
I do not know, really. Nobody knows. So we can check with the dictionary and see what they will give us, because it's cerebral nu, yeah, Kanva. Renowned Rishi, ta ta ta. No, we don't have. Kan. Let us check Kan. Kanati becomes small. I thought Kani, Kanya, yes, as a small, but nu cerebral is a bit difficult. You have in the Hatopatha always, for all the roots which they do not figure out what it means, to go to approach. You have so many names of roots which, when they do not are not sure, they will give this idea to go, to wink, to close eyes. I don't know. So it's very to sigh, to sound. You see, it's very uncertain.
Okay.
But it's very rare that you cannot figure out what it means. The other word, their other name is Agastya. We do not know what Agastya means. Yeah, Kanva, Agastya, few names, only few, because Vasishtha is the most luminous. Vishwamitra is the, the friend of the world, of the universe, of all. We have always a translation.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. Samsidasva, sit down together, totally. Mahanasi, you are great. Shochasva deva vitamach, shine, shine in thy purity, revealing utterly the Godhead, deva vitamach, the most revealing the Godhead. Pour forth, O thou of the sacrifice, Medhyaya, thy red active smoke of passion, Dhumam, Arusham red Dhumam smoke. We, Srija, cast out your red smoke, O Medhyaya, O thou of the sacrifice. Prashasta, O wide manifested, reveal that full of vision, that smoke, red smoke, full of vision. Interestingly, that smoke, Sri Aurobindo comments in The Secret of the Veda, is the beginning of the burning, when the material is still wet, not yet ready for burning, so it creates a lot of smoke. The lower we go on our plane, the more smoke that it will create. The higher we rise, the less smoke will be there. The flame will be pure. So we are very smoky below. Well, because the wood is wet and it creates a lot of smoke. Yeah? It's not yet dried up. It's not yet prepared, not yet heated up with our tapasya to be ready to be offered. Yeah? So when it is not totally ready, it creates this smoke. Take your seat totally, some, for you are great. Shine with purity, most powerfully manifesting the divine. Deva Vita. It's a typical word for the Veda, Deva Vitama. There is another Deva Viti, Deva Vitaye, to manifest the divine. It's a constantly used word It's nowhere else used, yeah? Only in the Veda. And it's not very clear here with Deva Vitama. The explanation is given dubious later. They think Deva V, that most probably it is, V to approach and to manifest, to reveal. To reveal in living, in the movement. And Deva Vitaye for the manifestation of the divine. And then, Yam Tva Devaso Manave Dadhuch Iha Yajishtam Avyavahana Yam Kanvo Medhiyatithich Dhanaspritam Yam Vrisha Yam Upastutach. Now it's all yam, 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 whom. I will read my interpretation first. Whom the gods established for the mental beings, manave, for the mental being, literally, as the most powerful in the transformation, Yajishtham, O bearer of our offerings, Avyavahana, whom Kanva Medhyatithi, as his conqueror of the divine bliss, has established. It is implied, yeah, established. Whom the Medhyatithi Kanva established as the conqueror of his divine achievements or realization or divine bliss. Dana is wealth, money later, but it is something of the bliss, realization of bliss. Yam Vrisha, Yam Upastutach, whom Vrisha, Lord. Vrishan is the bull, Indra most probably, whom all who praise you. Upastutach. It's kind of continuing to the next verse. Yam Agni Medhyati Kanva Idha Ritad Adhi Tasya Prisha Didiyuch Tam Ima Richach Tam Agnim Vardhayamasi. So now finally the resolution of these two verses in this one. Yam Agni Medhyati Kanva, whom Kanva Medhyati kindled as the divine flame above the truth. Ritad Adhi, above the Rita, the dynamic truth. Tasya Preshach, his impulses should thus shine forward. Didiyuch Pra Ishach. Didi should shine forward, flame forward. Tam imach richach, him should these verses or these luminous hymns increase. Tam agnim vardhayamasi, that Agni we make stronger in us. So these two verses have to be looked into together. So whom? Him, his, yes? Okay, if you have some questions, please go ahead, or some observations, it would be nice, because I'm talking already 40 minutes something. Some ideas you have, or some... No?
I just think that the devotional power of these verses is very strong, and I appreciate that. And your interpretation is so helpful. But above all, I think the devotional power shines through.
Yeah, because here there is no question, or there is no, problem to solve philosophically, who is who and what is what. Everybody knows who is who and what is what. It has to act, yeah. And the absolute action has to be established of some kind, and the help is to be. So we know what we are here for, we know what we are here to do, and these verses are actually the actions, yeah, of that kind. They help us concentrate the inner self.
Yes, there's a lovely, straightforward clarity to them in that way.
Mhm, mhm. And it helps because it creates in us this possibility, because we are so far away, drifted from that possibility, that we even doubt that it is there, even, you know. So to say, we have to convince our mind, which is all the time asking for some explanation. And here there is no need of this. Yeah? Yes, Doug, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wondered if there's a word for word translation of the Rig Veda.
You mean you need it, really?
Well, if I had the time to study it seriously, but it, sometimes it'd be nice to look up a little word. I'm spoiled because I've been living with Winthrop Sargent's translation of the Bhagavad Gita, and it kind of gives power to each word if you can look up the meaning. It's helpful when you go through and you translate them as you're going through the verse, but that's not something that we can refer back to.
Yeah, there is a problem with word by word translation, because how would you translate the word? Yeah. So if you take any word from the dictionary, for example, yoga word,
Uh-huh.
you will find 150 meanings. So which meaning will
Yeah.
you choose?
Yeah. Well, that's true, but at least it gives you a choice to kind of narrow it down. And what Sri Aurobindo does in the Secret of the Veda is he goes through various meanings that have been proposed, especially by Sayana, the best
Yeah.
known commentator on the Veda in the 14th century. And then he rejects all the external ritualistic meanings that have been given in the past, and he brings out the more psychological meaning.
If you want to do, of course, scientific study, and what science says so many things, and many things
Yeah.
are very interesting. Many things are interesting even from the point of view of not really finding the right answer.
Right.
Because you learn from that how everything drifted away from that central vision of the Veda.
Right.
Into the rituals and misunderstanding, where they, truly speaking, cannot dwell on the verse too long, because first of all it is assigned to the ritual, so they go into ritual, or they go to the brahmanas where it is some myth is explained, so they are kind of covering truth with the truth, of the later kind, or lesser truth. So it's not an explanation, but it is enriching our sense of, of penetrating into Indian culture, history, how everything was understood. In that sense, it's very valuable. But in psychological sense, of course, we need Sri Aurobindo and more. We need to know the language very well. We have to feel the language already. We have to have some kind of sense of, because the verse, it's like Savitri, yes, it implies a lot. There are presuppositions, there are presumptions, which are inbuilt into each statement. And if we don't see those presumptions, how can we understand what Rishi wanted to say?
Yeah, it's funny that I don't know, funny is not the right word, but Sri Aurobindo, to my knowledge, did not have priests practicing yajnas in the ashram. And what temple priests do today, although they're using a lot of Vedic mantras and the Pancha Sukta of the Vaishnavas and the Shiva, the Ashtakam, not the Ashtakam, but the Rudravisheka that the Shaivas do. Those are taken from the Vedas, but they're actually much simpler than the pure Veda Yagya that we're reading here. With properly done with the 3 fires and the 7 priests and the stuff that you're explaining now. So I'm just wondering if Sri Aurobindo or the mother saw any value in the more elaborate Veda Yagyas. It doesn't sound like they did.
Right. Sri Aurobindo never went into this priesthood rituals, yes, and never looked into it because he saw the symbolic meaning of the priests and officers. And I think this is much more valuable for us.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's totally impossible for any of us to try to imitate this stuff on a ritualistic.
Yeah, and what for? It doesn't do the work.
Yeah.
Really. In Taittiriya Samhita, you find that deviation from the typical ritualistic formation. Taittiriya Samhita is much later, was created later, composed. And in it you find the first symbolic explanation of the rituals. So it is said that the one, from there we have this term, Ya Evam Veda, the one who knows thus. It's actually telling us about symbolic meaning. So the first they describe the whole Ashwamedha, and then at the end they write, Ya Evam Veda, the one who knows thus, he will get the fruit of the sacrifice. So it's not by performing the Ashwamedha, but by knowing all the constituents and relations and meanings of this hotras, of what is going on within oneself, that one gains the fruit of the sacrifice. And this Yayavam Veda continues throughout, through all the Brahmanas, through all the Kalpa Vedanga. You will find it everywhere in all the Shastras. It's amazing. Even Shastras. Artha Shastra, if you take Artha Shastra, and there it is the description how to build the city, the capital, and one academician in Russia, I remember, he tried to make the architecture of the city in accordance with Artha Shastra. So he started to draw the city, how the king is to build the city. So the whole description of the city is given, and at the end it's written, the one who knows thus, he will build a proper capital for his kingdom. So he tried to build, and he saw that one portion does not fit anywhere. So it's fake. The description is fake. So and he was so surprised, and then he started to think, and he couldn't find so the physical embodiment of that which is there described is not fitting into the physical world. So it's an amazing conclusion what we are coming with this, that the vision of the city is given to the king as the attitude or guidelines with which, knowing which, he will build a proper city. It should not fit. It's not a description of the physical reality. It's a description of the mental reality. And in the mind, the world is different than in the physical. The difference between the mental and the physical was understood already in Shastras. So what they give in Shastras, they give you the mental attitude, the mental kind of description, which, knowing which, holding which, you will find all the solutions on the physical plane. So between the mental and physical, there was a vital. And this vital is always, mismatching, correlating, changing the idea of the mind to be embodied in the physical. It's not one-to-one. That correlation had to be taken into account. How would you describe then what to do in the words to someone? You don't describe the world, a physical world, and then that is what you have to replicate. It's not the way how things are done, because then you are not engaged. Your mind is not engaged. You're like a mechanical, thing, like a machine have to do what is described. And this is not the way how things are done. So this was the major failure of Soviet Union when they were making plans for 5 years to produce so many buttons, so many needles, and then they didn't take into account that the world is developing, that the evolution is taking place, and maybe needles are not needed. The fashion has changed and buttons are not needed. So they failed with these 5 years plan to produce so many rockets and that. Everything was useless at the end. Everything and things which were needed were not produced, So this mental idea is not really matching with the physical. So that's why this Yayavam Veda comes into place. That the vision is one thing, the embodiment is another. So when we try to replicate the ritual, is something altogether. So I'm kind of trying to connect the two.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. But the Yayam Veda, that's the mantra Pushpam.
Yeah,
Yayam
Evam Veda, yes.
Yeah, he who knows this.
Yes, mantra Pushpam, yes. That's what Evam Veda Ayatanavan Bhavati, yes. So he becomes the embodiment, or the one who dwells on that level. So the one who knows thus, he will receive the fruit of the sacrifice. And then they tried to look into other shastras, and the amazing thing, they looked into the Kama Shastra. We had the whole report, and it seems that Kama Shastra is the same. You cannot really follow Kama Shastra in the physical embodiment, because the descriptions of the relations between man and woman are made in such a way that they are physically impossible. So, but it is written, Yayavam Veda, the one who knows thus will succeed in the marriage life. So it's a mental attitude, which is
the whole
important.
Kama Sutra that was so sensationalized.
Yes, well, by especially Westerners who were looking for it. But truly speaking, there are many more. There is a lot of information which is quite interesting in Kama Shastra about India, about relations, about habits, about the culture, family culture, and so on. There are much more than just sexual life. But even in sexual life, there was impossibilities, physiological impossibilities described, and then he came to the same conclusion that this is the mental attitude which has to be taken in order to be creative, free from something, and being able to adjust in time the powers of the mind to the physical embodiment. So here we have it. So it's much more interesting and complex situation with Indian tradition.
Yeah, that's an amazing explanation of how these great visions that were articulated in the Shastras are only describing the mental state, not the vital or physical.
Absolutely. And Shastra means for instruction. It's a kind of instruction of the mind. It's not instruction of the body how to do it physically. Yeah, it's something. It's an attitude in the mind. So how you have to view it. Once you view it, and with this idea, I was also coming to Auroville, and I was telling that the whole galaxy plan is actually the mental idea. It cannot be built physically. It has to be kept in the mind if you want to build a proper aura wheel. But they were not listening to me.
Oh,
So
they had that.
they want to ban their houses. And so, okay, ban the houses. Go ahead. Just embody it, yeah, as it is, as you see it in the mind, that you put it into the physical. It won't be good, actually. There will be a problem there. There has to be a correlation through life. Yeah, you have to keep this in mind, and with correlation of life, you will find the solution in the physical. It's something we have to be involved, and this is the beauty of Indian literature. It involves people who are doing it. They are becoming part of this building. Yeah, outside, they are also part of it. Their consciousness is actively engaged. All the divinative, all the divine forces are engaged through them, building them and the world around them. So this engagement is missing. All right. Okay, we can stop here.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Very short one.
No problem.
What is the meaning of Medhya Atithi?
Yes, Atithi, you know, yes, this
Yes,
is
yes.
the guest, yes. Medhya, it's actually Medhas. We can look into the dictionary. It is connected with the...
Intellect?
Yes, also intellect, yes. A sap, a fresh, mighty, strong, sacrificial oblation, clean, pure. Not defiling even. It is the quintessential enjoyment of the truth, if you will.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Why Atithi is difficult to say. Yeah?
Yeah.
But this name is Kanva Medhya Atithi is really mysterious. Never could figure out.
Vladimir, just what is the meaning of Vritta one we read before? I couldn't get very clear.
Vritra,
Yeah.
this one whom they kill.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
Vritram, yeah, Gnanto Vritram. Vritra is the obstructor, the one who obstructs, who actually gobbles, drinks all the soma for himself. All the divine delight of existence he uses for his own self assertion and aggrandizement. So this is the ego in pure sense in nature. So that is which is not permitting the sacrifice to go on. The flow of the delight has to embrace many creatures. It has to fulfill many beings, because we are not living here for ourselves. Beautifully, Sri Aurobindo describes Sanatana Dharma of India as Indian nationalism. He says India exists not for herself. India exists for the truth. This is the Sanatana Dharma. So it's not for oneself, that the same for human beings, I could say. Yeah? We do not exist for ourselves. We are here to embody the truth, the divine. And for that, we have to allow the soma, the delight, the divine delight to flow. We have to give ourselves and the delight to others, because it is necessary for them to receive it and to grow. And so Vritra is the one who obstructs this flow. He takes it onto himself, gobbles it, and becomes great and powerful, but by himself, separately from the rest. He drains others. Others do not grow, they do not know. Everybody tries to receive more and more the delight for themselves. Yeah? And somehow they are surprised that it is not satisfying anymore. They have everything. They have money, everything, and they are not happy. Don't know how to get to that happiness. They try here and there. They start, giving some donations. Maybe that would do some trick. But still, this vritra has to be killed. The flow of the delight. It's not your delight. It's the divine delight.
Can psychological disorders be
Your voice is breaking. I can't hear you. Sorry.
Can psychological disorders be vritra?
Absolutely. All psychological disorders are Vritra's disorders. There is no other disorder, actually. When the Vritra is killed, of course, there are other creatures coming into life, like the remnants of Vritra, of Shushna, for example, who is drying everything down. All the delight will be dried down, and so on. But I don't want to go into all these creatures. But Vritra is the major selfishness, let us say. And Sri Aurobindo says there is only one sin, that is selfishness. There is no other sin. Selfishness is the only sin.
Is it the same Vritasura who was killed by Krishna?
No. Vritra is... Krishna was not that time there, not in the Veda, not the killer of Vritra.
I think in the Mahabharata, there's a story of how Krishna kills the
Kills...
Asura.
He kills many asuras, yes. Bakasura and so on, but not Vritra. Is there Vritra? Really?
I thought it said Vritrasura.
Then maybe it's projected from the Veda into the realm of Krishna, because truly speaking, it is Indra who kills Vritra, and Indra is representative of Vishnu, so with Vajra. So in a way, most probably it is him, Krishna, behind. Yeah. All right. Okay, we can stop here for today. There was something in the chat. Sorry, I have to leave. Okay. Okay, so I will close with mantra and we continue next time from the verse number 10. Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om. See you.